Today is the 5th of February 2024, and it's going to be a very, very sad day for me. Why? Well, because in just a few hours' time, a man from Renault UK is going to come and knock on my door and ask to have the keys back to my Renault Megane E-Tech, a car that I've been running for the last 3 months. Why is it going to be so sad? Well, in this week's video, I plan to tell you why. So, welcome to this week's episode of the Megane Diaries. Time to say a farewell to the Megane E-Tech, but it is time for me to welcome you back to AutoEV. Now, before we get started in our goodbyes to the Renault Megane E-Tech, it is of course that time where I would ask you to make sure that you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Then once you've done that, make sure you've pressed the little bell button down below, because in that way you'll get a notification of when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. Once you've watched it, if you do enjoy it, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and don't forget, leave us your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you own the Renault Megane E-Tech? How have you been getting on with yours? Because this is a really important one where we ask for your participation with these long-term test cars. We want to know what your thoughts are as owners of the car. Or are you considering one and you maybe got some questions for us? As I say, down below in the comment section is where you need to be. All right, okay. Well, look, I've been running this car for 3 months and we've road tested it, and it's been in other tests, and I've spoken all about the car. I'm not going to go through sort of like telling you about the kind of technical details and what it's like to drive and all the rest of it and things like that, because I've done all that before. What I'm going to do in this week's episode is give you the sort of like the 5 things that have really annoyed me about the car. But I'm also going to give you 5 things that I absolutely love about it, because I genuinely mean it. I am really going to miss this car when it disappears at the end of today. I haven't used it quite as much over the last few weeks as I'd like to have done, but that's because of family circumstances. But even so, I've done just over 2,500 miles in this car since November. So I think I've got myself a really good handle on what the car's been like to live with. And of course, I've got to say a huge thank you to everyone in all the videos that we've had the car in. Current owners of the car, or people who've been thinking about buying them, even a couple of people who have then gone and bought one because of our videos. Thank you very, very much. The reason we run these long-term test cars is to engage with you, and then we can feed back to Renault what it's like to be an actual owner of one of these cars. So it is important that you stay in touch. But anyway, enough of all that. Let's crack on with what we like and what we don't like about the Renault Megane E-Tech. Well, the first thing that I absolutely love about this car is the way it looks. Look at it. I just think it's one of the best looking cars on the road. I really do. I think Renault, when they brought this car out, did a real trick with it. I've always said this. It makes you think it's going to be a small crossover. It's not. It's a C-sector hatchback. It's shorter than a Focus, and it's lower than a Renault Zoe, which is the Super Mini, or was the Super Mini, because that's now gone out of production. But it's such a kind of visual trick they've done with it. It sort of appeals to people who want that kind of crossover, maybe sort of like Nissan Qashqai, you know, maybe Nissan Duke, you know, Vauxhall Mokka, Peugeot E2008. But it sits on a footprint that's around about the same size as a Volkswagen Golf, Volkswagen ID3, that type of car. So I love the way that the car looks. And so when we did our triple test last month on the car with the MG4 and of course the Peugeot E308, it is of course the one that all 3 of us at the AutoEV office absolutely love. I mean, Charlie and Rod are designers, so they know a few things about sort of like how things should look. But we're all in agreement that this is the best looking car in its class. Electric or combustion engine. We just love the way this thing looks. Now, my car is the Techno Plus, which is the mid-level trim spec. Sorry, I'm in a car park, there's a couple of cars moving around, so apologies if that noise has been picked up. Your range starts with the Equilibra model. Then you get this one, the Techno Plus, and then there's the Iconic, which replaced the Launch Edition as the kind of top of the range one. And I have to admit, that Launch Edition car was the one I wasn't so keen on, because it had that kind of gold blades that they put in the front kind of grille. It made it look like, they were trying to make it look like the Formula 1 car. It just didn't work in my opinion. The Techno Plus, I think, is the pick of the range, because it's got the equipment on it that you want and that you're going to need, but you're not spending out on all that money on terms of the top of the range car. But you do get the 20-inch alloy wheels, which I think are key to this car's looks. I really think they fill the arches well. I love the sort of like the two. I've never been a big lover of kind of two-tone, you know, the black roofs and the different body colours, but I think this works on this car. I really do like it, and of course you get that kind of cladding at the bottom there that just helps protect the lower doors, but it also pinches the bulk in. You've got the concealed door handles that pop out when you lock the car, so that's quite a nice thing. And then at the back, of course, you've got the rear handle integrated into that C-pillar, which is nice and flush, so you don't have anything interrupting the door panel. So I think the looks is the first thing that I really do love about the Renault Megane E-Tech. From its kind of slim sort of like headlights to the kind of bluff front nose to the big new kind of Renault badge on the front. Yeah, it's an eye-catching car, and it's also a car, as I say, when you lock it and you walk away, you do catch yourself just turning around and looking at it and going, yeah, that's a good looking car. This particular colour is ceramic grey, which is quite nice. I do like it as a metallic, but I think when I first road tested the car back in 2022, it was the nice kind of metallic red, which I must admit has probably been my favourite that I've seen on the car, but they do a nice blue as well. But as I say, in terms of my first thing that I love about my Renault Megane E-Tech, it's the way it looks. Now, the other thing that I've loved about the Megane, my other positive, is the practicality of it. The boot space is 400 litres, or just over 400 litres, which is huge, way bigger than the contemporaries in this class. However, it's a big volume. The only thing I will say, and it was pointed out by a couple of people in the comment section, which is a very fair point. I'm sorry, it's a really windy day today, apologies. It's a very fair point. The volume's there, 400 litres is huge, but the space between sort of like the back of the boot here, this sill area, and the backs of the rear seats might not be enough for you depending on what you're carrying. So maybe say, for instance, a wheelchair was the example that this gentleman gave me, which is a very fair point. Getting a wheelchair in, or you know, a walker, you know, if you're an elderly person or you've got an elderly person you take around with you. So what I would suggest is just check and take a tape measure with you to the dealership and just check that distance to see if that will work for you. That's the only thing I will say. But in terms of the volume, I haven't struggled. There's nothing that this car hasn't been able to carry for me. When I went up to Scotland at Christmas time, it took all my luggage, it took presents, it took parcels, and brought everything back that the family sent down for me and my wife, my daughter, and all the rest of it. So it's been brilliant for me, but I do understand not everyone will maybe see that practicality. But it's a good size of boot, and way bigger than you get in the ID3, the Astra, the Peugeot E308, and the MG4. You don't have a variable height boot floor, it's just the one height, but it does have underfloor storage. There's a trough at the back for your cables, so that's nice. I do like that, so you don't have to. But of course the downside is, if you need to get the cables and it's full of luggage, you've got to unpack them first. It'd be nice if maybe Renault had put some maybe under front storage as well, but there you go, minor point. But in terms of overall practicality, for me, it works fine. However, rear seat isn't that great. And in fairness, we did discuss this on the triple test that we did with the MG4 and the Peugeot E308. If you haven't watched that video, I'll pop a link up to it. But one of the things that we've all noted is in the rear, it's not as big as you think it's going to be, because whilst it has a really long wheelbase, it's got a big boot, you think to yourself, oh, it's going to be a great car for the back. It's okay, but it's not brilliant. Now, that's my driving position. I'm 5'8". Now I can sit behind myself, but look, it's not vast, the space. It's okay. The other thing is, I mean, I'm wearing a pair of trainers today, but you know, if you've got a pair of kind of shoes on or boots or something, you can't get your feet. If this person in front has got the seat way down like I like, you can't get your feet under the seat particularly comfortably. And the floor feels pushed up. So you do tend to sit, if you're sitting like that, you've got that kind of slope on your knee. So it's not as good as you think it could be back here, and that's a little bit of a negative. The other thing that I also find is a negative, especially with the likes of my daughter, there's no armrest, so she can't put her water bottle or her iPad in. Well, she can put an iPad, I suppose, in the backs of in the mat pockets, but there isn't a place for a water bottle to go other than the door bin. Now that's all right, but you know, a fold-down armrest, maybe with a load through, would that be too much to ask? Anyway, it depends obviously on the rear passengers you're going to have with the car. Now, as I say, I've got a 10-year-old, and I had her and 3 of her friends in the car the other day, and 3 of them across the back seat, absolutely fine, no problem. There's a flat floor, you know, we've got 3 across here, perfectly comfortable. There was no issues with it. But if you've got teenagers, maybe for instance, you know how lanky that teenagers can get now, that might be a bit of a consideration for you. So do watch that. But on the whole, it's all right. It does okay. There are better cars for the same money in terms of its rear accommodation that you're going to need it for. But of course, Renault have got the new Scenic coming out. Okay, yeah, it's going to sit slightly above this in terms of price, but it's not vastly much above it. But I think obviously that's going to be their family car that they're going to be marketing over this car. But yeah, that's one negativity thing. The rear seat isn't as practical as you think it might be. One of the other things that people have commented on when they've been driving the car, and that's including my wife, Charlie and Rod, and obviously myself, is how shallow the rear window is. Your rearward visibility is very limited, especially that over-the-shoulder kind of view, when you're kind of relying on it. Yes, there is a reversing camera, but even so, as much as we love the styling of the car, that's a little bit of a downside. Right, I'm going to go back onto things that I really like about the car now. The interior, absolutely love it. Let's turn that fan speed down. Absolutely love the interior of this car. Although there's one, I love it, I do love it, I really do. There's no doubt about it. I am a little bit irked, like a lot of people were, that the UK cars don't get the bigger screen that the left-hand drive cars do. That is a little bit annoying. I don't mind it so much. In the sense that I think if they all got that screen, I could live with it. But knowing that others get a better screen than that does kind of just, you know, pisses you off a little bit, because you're right-hand drive, the proper place to drive, and you have to put up with a slightly smaller screen. But in fairness, it is an absolute minor point that I was struggling to put 5 negatives about the car. And if that is a negative, then as I say, it's like the weakest negative I can think of. Because I love the interior layout of this car. I absolutely love the dashboard. So it uses a Google operating system, which I just adore. I think it's just so easy. You've got the Google Assistant, everything's just really easy to use. You know, you've got your tiles that are up there. Obviously, you've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's wireless, which I think is brilliant. I love the fact I just get in and it connects automatically. I did mention this on the first introduction to the car. I have had a couple of times where it wouldn't connect the Apple CarPlay, and it won't allow you to reset it while you're driving. You've got to stop. So if you're on a motorway drive, for instance, and you've got in after charging it and you set back off on the motorway and it won't reconnect, you're a bit scuppered, because you can't do it on the move. You've got to stop and then kind of, you know, almost kind of sign out, sign back in. But it's only happened a couple of times, and I can't lay maybe the blame at Renault's door for that, because I suppose it could happen in any car. In fact, it's happened in my own car, in fairness, my other car, my family car. So yeah, it's not really Renault's fault. So that is a little bit annoying. You can't really reset it on the move. But there we go. The rest of it, as I say, love it. Love the Google operating system. Love the fact that the navigation is done through Google Maps. And as you can see, what you can do is you can set it up so that you've got the map in front of you here on the driver display, so your navigation is there. So you don't need a head-up display, because you can pop it in there, and then you can just use this as your media control, which I think is phenomenal. That's how I tend to have it set up. So, you know, as I say, you've got your radio on, or Apple CarPlay or whatever. You can have that there on the small screen and use the big dashboard there for the navigation. So that sort of alleviates the lack of the big screen for me, because of the fact you can do that, and it's clear and it's easy to read, and I love using Google Maps and all the rest of it. So yeah, fantastic layout. The actual controls layout is very good too. So, you know, in terms of, you've got the physical buttons for the heating and ventilation, which are these kind of nice little kind of rocker switches there, and then you've got nice kind of thin 3-spoke steering wheel here, where you've just got enough, you know, you've got your kind of cruise control buttons here, which is dead simple to use, and then your kind of your telephone favorite over here, and your drive mode button is on the steering wheel rather than being on the center console. I did kind of bemoan the fact about these 3 column stalks, you know, so you've got your transmission lever, your wipers, and then the kind of Renault media control here, which have been on Renaults for donkey's years. And it does make it look visually cluttered around here, whereas this side just has the 1 column stock. However, you do get used to it. And actually now having the kind of physical buttons for the volume control there, as you're driving along like I do, it's just that kind of finger stretch away to turn the volume up or down, is brilliant. I really like that, and actually I don't mind that so much. So you do get used to it. That's the one thing I will say with regards to that. It just looks a little bit cluttered, as I say, but actually it works all right, in fairness. There's buttons, other buttons around the car as well. Down here you've got your, what have we got, your dynamic stability control, your lane keep assist, and I talked to you about that. And then obviously your parking brake and your auto hold down there, and obviously your window switches on the doors as you'd expect. Right, lane keep assist and the safety systems that are on the car. What I do like about this, there's two things I've really noticed with the Megane when I've been driving it. The fact is the lane keep assist, which I don't particularly like, you can turn off with the press of a button, which is on your right hand side. Brilliant. It's not embedded in a screen in here. You don't have to go in there to switch it off. It's just one single button there. The other thing is when it is on, and there are other little sort of like the safety systems which have become a real bugbear of mine, like speed limit warning, that type of thing, it's not intrusive. If you look at like say Kia, Hyundai, it's beeping and bonging at you all the time. BYD, you know, MG, it's always beeping at you. This doesn't. It's a very, very gentle reminder. So you get the little speed limit warning will flash there, which is fine. You know, I don't mind that so much. And the lane keep assist, it doesn't really jerk the wheel out your hand. It's just a gentle kind of, you can just feel it. Almost like you're trying to put two batteries together. You know when you get that resistance? It's a bit like that. And it just reminds you, it doesn't take over. It's just that reminder. That's what I really like about the safety systems in the Renault. As I say, they're not intrusive, and they're easy to switch off if you don't like them. Brilliant, love that. The quality is exceptional in here. I mean, this is, as I say, 2,600 miles I've done in this car. There's not a squeak, a rattle, anything in this car at all. It's solid as a rock. There's nothing at all in terms of the way it's all built. It feels solid. It feels like it's going to do another 100,000 miles and it'll feel like this. And I like the use of materials. You know, again, we said in that triple test, all of us like the, you know, the kind of the material up on the dash. You've got the kind of Alcantara that sweeps across from the doors. The seat material I just like. You know, Rod and Charlie kind of like the kind of yellow stitching that you get through the seats, just that little bit different. Again, kind of tying it in with the kind of Renault Elf, the old Renault Elf kind of Formula 1 livery. I like that. There's a nice bit of ambient lighting around the car as well, which, you know, does a nice glow at night, which is good. What would I like? I'd maybe like to see a panoramic sunroof. I quite like a panoramic roof, just a little bit more lighting, but it's not, again, the end of the world at all. Good storage. There's not been a scenario, a bit like the back, where I've been felt, oh, I wish I had a bit more storage in here. Big centre bin there. There's a little tray there. You can just drop my wallet in. There's a cup holder here. The only downside, and again, first world problem, I can't get, there's an adjustable cup holder here. You can adjust the two things there. It's either too small or too big for my other, because I have a coffee flask and a water bottle I take on long journeys, and that is either too big or too big, and things kind of fall over. But you can put the water bottle down in the door, because the door bins are lined with a carpet, which is nice, so I do like that. Wireless charging, again, nice place to put your mobile up there. It just sits up there nicely, and your decent glove box. So yeah, interior of the car, fantastic. Comfort level is off the scale. I genuinely thought these seats weren't going to be up much cop on a long drive, but having driven the car long distances on many occasions, all I can say is they're brilliant. They're absolutely fantastic. I've never got out of this car feeling achy after a good few hours behind the wheel. So yeah, excellent driving environment, excellent cabin, superb comfort, brilliant build quality, phenomenal. My other bugbear with the car is the efficiency, or the range in some respects. Now, Renault say you should get 260 miles out of this car, according to their WLTP figures. Now, I know we quote WLTP figures a lot on AutoEV, but we don't tend to have the cars long enough to turn around and say, well, we've done a really long test in the car and this is what we found. There are too many variables. It's like quoting MPG. It just, on a combustion engine car, you're never going to get it exactly the same all the time, because it depends how you use it, it depends on the time of year you're doing it at, blah, 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 blah. However, this is disappointing. So 260 miles is what Renault say you should get out of the car. I struggle to see 200 miles. Admittedly, I've had the car in 3 months over winter, so November, December and January. But even so, as I say, I thought I might have got at least 220, 230. Now, in fairness, some viewers have been telling me in other parts of the world, they get better efficiency than I've been getting, but I have been using it over a variety of different roads. So it's not just long motorway drives I've had the car in. I do it locally around here where I live, you know, sort of like shorter journeys, you know, up and down to see the guys down at the office and things like that. So yeah, as I say, I'm struggling to see 200 miles out of it in winter. Maybe in summer you might have seen 220, but I thought we might have got a little bit better out of the car. The other thing that I'm a little bit disappointed with as well is where the charging flap is, which is here. Now, you're going to think, well, what's the problem with that? The thing is, you drive into or reverse into most charging stations, and if you're doing it from there, you've got to pull the cable across the front of the car, and I don't like my car getting damaged. So I think that's a bit of a silly place to put it. I'd much rather they'd done like the Zoe and put it at the front there. Yeah, I get the fact that if you bump the front of it, then obviously you can damage the charging port, but just be careful. But as I say, dragging it across the bodywork to plug in there, I don't think is the ideal solution. So that's the other thing that does bug me. But you know what I'm going to really miss about this car? That's the way it drives. Because this thing knocks spots off anything else in the class, and including the MG4, which is a good car. It's a really good car. But this thing is on another level as far as I'm concerned. Now, it's not just performance. Yes, it has good performance. 217 horsepower, 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds. That's plenty enough. But it never feels overwhelmed by that power, nor does it feel underpowered. It feels just right. The other thing about it is the refinement is off the scale, even on these big 20-inch wheels. This particular bit of road by me, no matter what car I'm in, the only cars that have ridden well over this, apart from this one now, has been the Mercedes-Benz EQS and a Citroen C4. But this thing, just, I mean, in case you notice the bumps, but it doesn't upset you. It doesn't upset the quality of the ride of the car. It's brilliant. And of course, you've got good turning, you've got good stability through corners, you've got beautiful handling with the car. I mean, Renault engineers are renowned for giving us good driving cars. You know, Renault Sport Clio all through its generations, the Renault Sport Megane in its generations as well. You know, all the other cars that Renault have done that, you know, magazines and journalists have gone and said, wow, that drives really well. You can tell it's all here. The DNA is all in this car, and it's brilliant. It's also a really comfortable car to drive. I mean, every single mile I've put under the wheel of this car has been a pleasure. I've never felt uncomfortable. I've never felt, you know, like out at the end, oh, your back's a little bit twingy, or your leg's been sitting at a funny angle, or you've not got the right driving position. Not at all. It's been absolutely perfect for me. And I've just got on with it really, really well. The layout, as I was saying earlier, in terms of the dashboard and the switchgear and stuff like that, perfect. Doesn't get any better. You know, yes, okay, a bigger screen would be nice, but it's not the end of the world. You know, I mean, do we need big screens in cars? Probably not. But it does enough. The fact that it's Google operated is what I prefer. You know, I'd rather have that. I'd rather keep the Google operation and sort of like, you know, stick with a smaller screen than if they'd gone for a big screen and done it themselves, for instance, because I like that. So yeah, so in terms of things that I love about the Megane, the way that it drives is probably my number one love for it. I just think it just does everything really, really well. It is a proper jack of all trades, this, and master of them all as well. As I say, handling, refinement, comfort, lack of noise, everything. It just knocks spots off everything in the class. And cars that are in a bigger price bracket, cars that sit above it, and you know, and more expensive EVs. I don't think they get close to, you know, some of them don't even get close to being as good as the Renault is. So yeah, that's the thing I absolutely love about this car, the way that it drives, because it is absolutely brilliant. I'm really going to miss this car, really going to miss it. Now, it's all very well telling you what the car's like to drive, how much we like the looks of the car, how well equipped it is. We've kind of done all that with our road test reviews on it. What you really want to know is what it's been like to live with, especially when it comes to reliability. Well, apart from one glaring flaw with it, it's been perfect. And it's a fairly big flaw, although I am now led to believe there is a fix for it. And it revolves around this. When you lock the car, 9 times out of 10, after about 30 seconds after I've locked it and I've walked away from it, the alarm goes off, which is really annoying, especially when it happens at 6 o'clock in the morning on your driveway. Or, that did happen to me one day, when I left the car parked up on the street, decided to take the dog for a walk. Every time I crossed the street, the alarm went off. I come back, unlock it, lock it again, walk. I did this 4 times. I ended up having to leave the key in my local vet who had parked outside so they could turn it off if it went off again. Now, as I say, I'm led to believe there's a fix for this. It's to do with the sensor up here and the wiring harness for the alarm, because I think the alarm's fitted in the UK when the cars come in, and this interferes with the wiring, and when you lock it and you walk away, the alarm goes off. And again, I'm led to believe there's a fix for it. So if you've still got this issue, contact your local dealer, because, as I say, there should now be a rectification for that. As I say, a lot of people have made comments in our comment section on the other videos of the Megane, and they tell me that they've had it all fixed. Other than that, it's been perfect. There's been not a single flaw with this car. There's not a squeak out of it. There's not a rattle out of it. Nothing. It has been brilliant. So as I say, apart from that, reliability wise, it's phenomenal. It's not like the Renaults of old. I mean, there's some, the build quality of this car is superb. You know, the way it feels, the quality, the materials, everything about it has been superb. So I really, really can't recommend it enough in terms of its reliability, other than that alarm flaw. That's it. So, in a couple of hours, there's a man going to knock on my door and ask me for the keys for this car, and he's going to drive it off. 3 months, 2,500 miles with it. Am I going to be sad to see it go? Undoubtedly. This is a brilliant car. I have loved this car so much. I genuinely have. All my family have. My wife, when she's driven it, she's loved the way it drives. My daughter likes it. She loves the comfort and the quietness of it. It's not perfect, but then again, not many cars are, in fairness. The alarm situation, that's been annoying, but we know there's a fix out for it. It's not been great when it comes to the overall range of the car, but as I say, I've been running it through the winter time, and the cars never do what they say they're going to do. But I know that Renault say that the next car, the Scenic that's coming out this year, is going to be much more efficient, this car, and it does need to be, in fairness, but it hasn't really inconvenienced me. I've still been able to do some really long drives in this car, and I've loved every mile I've put under the wheel of it. It's comfortable, it's refined, it's quiet, it's well equipped. I don't think you could ask for anything else in terms of equipment on this car, and it's just fun to drive as well. The fact that it is just a 5-door family hatchback makes it all the better. Renault have got a real quality product on their hands with this car, as far as I'm concerned. It's way better than the Volkswagen ID3, it's way better than the Peugeot E-3A and the MG4, and we like the MG4. It's a great car, but it's not as good as this one. In terms of where we see sort of like Renault going with their electric future, I think, the Zoe was really, really good at the time. I mean, we know how popular it was. It lasted 10 years, even with its updates. It's just gone out of production. This has been a really nice evolution on from that, because, as I say, it takes a lot of what they learn from the Zoe and puts it in a bigger package. And as I say, I don't want to trivialise money, but £36,500, I think it's reasonable value, in fairness. What we're going to see next one, well, of course, the Scenic's next, the car that sits above this. We've already done a sneak peek of that car, and that's going to be, Renault tell me that in terms of the battery and the efficiency of the battery is going to be much, much better than this car. But of course, in terms of style, we've got the new Renault 5 coming, the new EV, and of course then the Renault 4. Renault are really hitting their stride, I think, with their electric products, and if they're anywhere close to being as good as this car, then they're only going to have huge success in their hands, as far as I'm concerned. Goodbye, old friend. It really has been a great, great 3 months, and I am going to miss it. Thank you for watching another episode of AutoEV and of course our long-term roundup of our Megane E-Tech. If you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Once you've done that, press the bell button because then you'll get notification when our next video goes up and it's gone live. If you've enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, and of course don't forget, leave me your thoughts down below as well. Do you have a Renault Megane E-Tech? Have you been running it? Do you agree with me? Do you think it's as good as I say it is? Or have you experienced more problems than I have? Let me know in the comment section down below. Are you thinking of buying one and you want to ask me a question? By all means, please do, and I'll do my very, very best to answer them. Now, of course, we're across all social media as well, so Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, TikTok, so please give us a follow there as well, because that does help us too. And maybe this is the first time you've tuned into AutoEV and you've thought, what are these guys all about? Well, stick on the YouTube channel, because every time there's a new electric vehicle launched in the UK, we give it a full and thorough road test. We properly get down and dirty with it and we get to the bare bones with it. So if you're thinking of buying an electric vehicle and you want to know what the one you're considering is really, really like, we've probably driven it and you'll probably find it somewhere. So go and give it a watch as well on there. Now, we've also done used car reviews, electric van reviews, electric motorbike reviews as well. So there's plenty for you to be getting on with as well. All that remains for me to say is thank you for supporting us. Thank you for watching. I will see you again soon. Unfortunately, not with this car.